Life with Intentional Mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here. Leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Hey, look, we're back. It's been a couple weeks since we had a live show, and Jackie and I, we've just been chomping at the bit, getting a little stir crazy and trying to figure things out, and here we are. And when I woke up this morning, I decided it was going to be a groovy day, and look, I get to spend an hour with two of the most grooviest people I know on the entire planet. Here we go. Welcome to Life Mastery Radio, the talk show that brings you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. Before we get started, let's just take a minute, kind of roll those shoulders a little bit and really focus on being centered. And if you can, think about what it is that you connect to. Could be the all, could be the dude, could be God, could be Allah, whatever it is that could be the tree outside your window. Just mentally connect to that and think about that connection. And let's take in a deep breath. And let that breath out with just a big ah. Just let your essence flow right up from your solar plexus, through your speaker box, and out into the universe. And this time, when you take in that deep breath, I want you to think about those dreams, visions, and goals. I know we're kind of in a can right now. At least that's the way I'm feeling, like a sealed-in can. But we still have dreams, visions, and goals. And I want you to think about those. Take in that breath. Let that breath out with a big ah. Let those dreams, visions, and goals go out into the universe. And sure, think about allowing the universe, God, all of the dude, the tree, the doorknob, whatever it is, the opportunity to make those come true for you. Jackie's giggling. I didn't get Paulette giggling, but look how deep.
No, she was the one that was giggling. It wasn't me.
I'm the giggler.
That is close. As always, I have a great guest for you today, but I also have my regular co-host back with me today. Jackie and I have been doing this show for way over a year. Hi, Jackie. How's it going? Are you getting a little stir crazy?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm an introvert. So the indoors stay-at-home situation doesn't bother me as much as just feeling like I was supposed to be in the Caribbean next week, and I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I was supposed to be in the Caribbean next week, not for fun, but because I was doing some networking there.
Oh, that's right. So
camp.
did that get put on hold? What? This got canceled. Is it on hold or canceled?
Well, it's canceled, and don't want to travel there, and they're not having as big of a wave of the COVID-19 as we are, and I don't want to be the one to bring it there.
That's because they're isolated. That's the key.
Yeah, and they're in a little warmer environment, and they're probably outdoors a lot more than we are anyway. So anyway, that's the bummer for me, but I am just as busy as I ever have been. Most of my classes are online now, and my kids are doing fabulous.
So that picked up. Last time we chatted, it was kind of in a lull. I think parents were trying to figure out what they were going to do. And yesterday, all three of us live in Washington State, and our governor, Jay Inslee, pretty much shut it off. The schools are canceled. All seniors, if you're in good standing, consider yourself graduated, and it's all done.
Without any ceremony, though, and without any proms, and without any homecomings or anything like that. It's so sad.
That's the sad part, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll make it up. I saw a couple of online, people are moving online, and I saw a graduation party online somewhere. It was out of Texas, and part of the tradition with this high school's graduation is everybody goes to this burger joint and gets a burger and a shake. And so these parents set it all up for these two to have their prom date on the porch and maintain social. No, it's not social distancing. What is it called, Paulette?
Physical distancing.
Physical distancing.
Physical distancing. and they had their hamburger and their shake and their prom. It was quite cute. I thought that was pretty cool. So
That's the whole thinking outside the box thing, right?
totally.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
JackieBaileySpeaks.com. If you have little ones, kids looking for something to do, it's a great program that will help your child find their voice. I don't even want to call your child, your little human, because that's what they are. They're God's gifts to us, and we get to nurture them for a little while. And give yourself a break and let Jackie teach them how to go inside and find out what's important to them, what they're about, and, open up a good positive spirit about the times that we're in. I think there is light at the end of the tunnel, but our kids are out of school for a while. So check it out, JackieBaileySpeaks.com. Or you can
And
go
also the Speak Feed Lead project.
right.
Speakfeedlead.org. Yes.
Speakfeedlead.org. You can
Yes.
find out more information there. Lots of good things cooking. I think a lot of people have gone online and are doing some really cool things. So there's lots to do, lots to check out. And while you're at it, go to www.lifemasteryradio.net. Check us out. Check out our guests. Anything we talk about today will be on today's show page. And while you're there, you can sign up for the newsletter. Jackie creates a newsletter every week, who's been on the show, who's coming on the show, and a blog post about what we heard on the show, which is really cool to review. And, it's really cool because we have it documented forever on all our shows. It's really cool. And our YouTube channel. All the shows go up on the YouTube channel. There are lots of shows there. So there's lots of things to surf around and learn about. We've had some really cool guests, and we've had some great discussions about all things Life Mastery Radio. Oh, yeah. Don't forget, while you're there, check out that.
Hey.
It's my book. You can follow the link. Go to Amazon, download it, read it, and be sure and leave me some feedback of what you think.
You need to add another tagline to that. 6 keys to life mastery during COVID-19.
That's funny you say that, because I've thought about some marketing, especially for today's show. And it's like, how far do I really want to go? Maybe we'll talk about that with Paulette today. How far do I really want to take advantage of the troubles and the trying times, or do I want to how do you market things that try and help uplift people without being down?
Well, that's the thing, though. If you've got something, and I know what you're talking about, because I thought, well, I can offer these classes to kids that are not out of school, and and it took. I still haven't gotten to the point where I feel like everybody's getting it and that they see how important these are. But when you've got something to give, and you think it's going to help at least one person, then you got to get it out there, right? Because you never know. In fact, I'm thinking about starting a life, like a mastermind group for these young kids. Because I know when things start coming back online, they're going to need our government officials, schools, communities, workplaces, they're going to need a lot of help disinfecting offices and places. They're going to need a lot of hands. And I think kids can be involved in that. So the mastermind group will be a way to help us get centered on service, what we can do, how we can lead in our communities, and what opportunities are out there for us to really make a difference.
Very cool. We're going to talk about that with more with Paulette. I think we're done sweeping the house, aren't we, Jackie? We done house cleaning?
I'm done. Disinfecting the house now.
Our guest today is a good friend of both Jackie and I's, and here's the deal. You got 3 Toastmasters on the radio today, and it looks like Jackie has a timing card, so if it gets a little out of hand, we can get back to it. But I
will be counting ums and ahs as well.
Oh, no.
What's the word of the day?
Don't do it.
The word of the day is love, right?
Oh, that's right. We did pick that. That's really cool. Our guest today is Paulette Deckers, and Paulette is a board certified hypnotist with the National Guild of Hypnotists. She's the mother of 3 amazing children and has been an entrepreneur for most of her adult life. During this time of isolation and shelter in place, she has participated in the World Wellness Online Conference. And that's and she is an independent practitioner with Ascension Living and Wellness Center in Lynnwood, Washington. She has given away valuable resources to help others stay on top of their emotions and control fear and anxiety. And you can find her on her website at www.deckershypnosis.com. Paula, welcome to the show. How are you today, my friend? Oh,
You're a little robotic there, Tom. Yeah, you're
Losing you.
you're jumpy.
Oh,
You know,
So,
I'm going to have to apologize to the audience. I think that Zoom is a very popular place, so I think
Lots
the whole
of
thing
people
is
are
just
using
crowded, and we're going to go real slow, huh? What did Jackie say?
what?
I said lots of people are on it. They're using it. And so I wanted to just make sure that we got Paulette's website out there because you were breaking up while you were saying it. It's Deckers Hypnosis.com.
Hypnosis. Deckers
Okay,
Hypnosis.
DeckersHypnosis.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I'll say it again. How are you today, my friend?
I am fantastic. I am so excited to be here. And, you know, I know you guys have been doing this for a while and you've had some amazing people on this show. It's really exciting for me to be here and to be a part of this. So thank you.
You're doing some really cool. I think you're blazing a trail and helping people to deal with, like I described, being in a can.
Yeah.
But you know what? All three of us are from the Pacific Northwest, and hiding out in a can for a little while seems, you know, I was thinking about this, Paulette. It almost seems like that's second nature to us in the Pacific Northwest.
It is during, what is it, from about November to April or May?
Right. I mean, I think it's just this mental thing that, hey, we're in a can, but
Yeah.
typically we're doing pretty good. So, and I think that reflected in our numbers. We're starting to flatten that out, and they aren't seeing all those infections on a daily basis. So I'm pretty sure we did good.
I think we did. Let's take some kudos for that, right? We were one of the first people to get it here, so.
I know. And that was the other interesting thing. So the only thing I could think about was, yeah, we're just used to being.
Well, it's interesting, you know, the slogan that our governor chose to put on the flag that hangs from the Space Needle in downtown Seattle was, "We got this."
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And I thought that was really odd with a virus going around. We don't want to have it.
It's a little bit of a play on words.
We don't really want to have it, but I know that because we live in the Pacific Northwest, this whole stay-at-home order thing, we got that. We know how to do that well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
really
we do.
We don't want to get the virus, but
Such a great thought. I hadn't even thought of that, Todd. You're so right. Yes, we are very used to being stuck in a can for months on end due to the weather. Yeah.
right.
So what else are people having to deal with, Paulette? I mean, it's just, you start to think about it, and things can creep up on people without them even realizing it. I mean, it's just like all of a sudden it's like,
Well, didn't we even talk earlier that the best of us, you know, people that practice daily meditation and mindfulness type stuff, even us who are pretty persistent in our self-practice and our self-care, can fall down that slippery slope, as I call it. So it is essentially what we're seeing is this isolation is disconnecting people in a way that's different than it was before. So before, a lot of it was, of course, online, right? And everybody's doing things online, which in a sense is isolating in and of itself when they're by themselves looking at social media. But now you're supposed to be physically distancing yourself from pretty much everybody. And even if you're out taking a walk, you might find that you just naturally now start crossing the street a half a block ahead of somebody just so you don't have to get too close to them. And it's not that it's not that you think they're bad or awful or mean. It's just that's where our mindset is right now. So we're dealing with the isolation factor, which leads to loneliness, and then of course leads to boredom and or depression, which is already pretty prevalent in our society, but it's going to, I think, compound even more because of this. So
no, I find myself in the going grocery shop, and you got to go get stuff to eat.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you have these thoughts, dude, you're invading my space.
Yes.
I was in a grocery store a couple of weeks ago before the suggestion of wearing masks out in public came into play, but it was at Costco. It was a huge warehouse store, right? And there was only about 12 to 15 people in the entire store, and it was so quiet. I never noticed before if Costco actually plays music over their loudspeaker, but I didn't hear any music. But what was interesting is I did come to a point where I had to get around somebody with my big cart, and I said, "Excuse me," and then I almost felt like, oh, am I supposed to not be talking either? It was just that thought crossed my mind, is like, we were so used to just being distant from each other that I thought, maybe I'm not supposed to say anything. It was just a kind of a strange thought.
Well,
So
do you feel
it
in
does
a
mess
sense
with our heads.
like you're hyper aware?
Yeah.
Hyper aware. So same with me. Before, when you would go to the grocery store, you don't care. You're all around people. It's no big deal. You're touching the cart, whatever. You'll hand sanitize when you get in your car. And now you go to the grocery store and you spray down the cart before you even touch it. And you might even wear plastic gloves or the mask or whatever, and you keep your distance. And yeah, you definitely feel more aware, hyper aware of what's going on around you, which I think in and of itself can also lead to some anxiety, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, absolutely. So we've got anxiety, we've got depression, because many of us feel we're not living out our purpose.
yeah.
No, we're not productive like we like to be. We don't feel like we're fulfilling other people's needs if we're into service opportunities, and
Right.
yeah, all of that just comes together to make us feel a little bit wonky. What's happening, and who am I really, and what am I supposed to be doing? And yeah, it's tough. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
Feeling that
Am I
Todd?
describing you? We'll call it the Todd syndrome.
It's yeah, and it's
Oh.
I have a great daily practice, and even it's just weird how it sneaks up on you, and then all of a sudden it's like, how come I give a shit or don't give a shit? Really, that's the best way I can describe it.
Well, what I say about that is that all emotions are good, right? Even the ones that don't feel so good. And because they're there to basically let you know that something needs to be addressed or that something isn't quite right, right?
Good point.
So,
That's awesome.
so therefore, if you just allow that feeling to kind of come in, and I always tell my clients, don't wrestle it to the ground and start punching it, and don't do that. Just notice it, allow the feeling to come in, let it kind of flow through you. It's an energy, right? Thoughts and feelings are energies, so let that energy kind of flow through your body. Don't take any note of judgment of it. Just go, oh, this is weird, I don't like it, but whatever. And generally it can dissipate much quicker than if we try to really
Well, awareness is a big one, and I was taught a long time ago, and I've been doing this quite a bit, is just be a witness to it, right? So it's kind of like that third party perspective of,
Yep.
and that
see the soul, right? You're sitting in the background going, hey, what's going on?
What's up with that? Pick up that pin.
Dr.
Write that
Eisendrath,
letter.
we replayed his show last week, Dr. Eisendrath. When antidepressants
aren't
enough. That's right.
Oh,
And
right.
I remember him telling us about envisioning ourselves on the banks of a river and watching dried leaves float by on the top of the river, and each of those leaves could be a thought or a feeling or an emotion or an attitude, something like that. And we just see it, we watch it, and it floats on by. We don't have to jump in and grab it. We just look at it, we recognize what it is, and then we just let it float on by. And that's always helped me to have that vision of, okay, this is a negative thought. I'm not going to jump in the river to get it. I'm just going to let it go on by and think of something else. So
that's actually a hypnotic technique right there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Literally envisioning the words on an item. For some people, it's like a balloon. They write it on a balloon and then they release the balloon and watch it float into the sky. Something that they want to release. It's basically symbolic. It's metaphorical, right?
Yeah. Nice.
I heard something really cool a couple days ago too, and you both of you are working with youth.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have youth, but something to be aware of, and Paulette, maybe you can speak to this a little bit more, is that those young people, those young humans are keying off of you.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, big time. Mm-hmm.
So you've got to really watch your P's and Q's and bring that awareness level up when you're, especially these days, because we are in close quarters with each other. And so they're watching you and cueing off you. And
Do you know that, like, when you're on an airplane and the flight attendant says, hey, in the unlikely event of blah blah blah, if the face mask falls down,
take care of
and
you first.
Take care of you first. Okay, that is an absolute must in a circumstance like this, because if you can't take care of you, you certainly can't take care of other people, right? And as a parent, you want to be able to take care of your children, your teens, your young adults. I have two daughters that are both away at college, and one that's home and is a sophomore. And it's the varying degrees of what they're going through. So, but the way I do that is I take care of myself first. I make myself a priority, and it's not selfish. It's not selfish, because you can't fully give of yourself if you can't take care of yourself first and love yourself and be in that space where you're being kind and gentle to yourself, right? So then when you feel, okay, I'm even keeled as well as I'm going to be right this moment, then I can go deal with my teen or my spouse or whoever else might be living in the home, because we are in tight quarters. And even if we have great relationships, I mean, don't you feel the stress sometimes? Maybe you're a little bit more cranky with your spouse than you want to be, or your child. And it's really, in the scheme of things, is the thing you're upset about really that big of a deal?
There's another thought that I've had about this whole thing. And if you think it was probably less than 50 years ago,
yeah,
they experienced what we're having to relive, right? It was all about the home, and it was all about people being together, and it was all about people being in the same space, and there wasn't much to do or go or be, and yet you hung out at the home. So then over the last, I don't know, even 25 years, we evolved into this busyness, and now it's all come back, and we don't have the skill set to help us deal with it. Does that make sense? It's something I was thinking about yesterday.
Yeah. So I like to call this, I think we mentioned this before, the beautiful distraction. And why it's beautiful is it gives us the opportunity, right? I'm always putting a positive spin on things. You have to.
That's what we got to do. That's the other skill set is look for the gift.
There's always a gift, even in the challenge, right? The most difficult of circumstances, there's always a gift. You may not be able to see it right away, but through time and through patience and self-love.
And having faith and hope that there is. I think that's an important.
Yeah. So what I said was that this virus, in a sense, this circumstance has given us the opportunity to stop, pause, reset, and reevaluate what's really important to us. Because what is really important to us, when you're going 24/7, 365, you don't have time to stop and reevaluate. You're just going, right? You're just on that train that's just carrying you down wherever. And now you actually have the moment to stop and go, whoa, you know what? I really wasn't that happy in that job. Maybe it's a good thing that it's not there anymore, even though I need the money, but it's really a great opportunity for us to just go inward and kind of figure out what we really need.
And I think it's actually helpful that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people are having financial struggles because they've lost their job, or they don't have the income that they had before. So many people can't see their family members, especially if they have a family member living in a retirement home or something like that, or they can't go see their grandchildren, which is the case for me. And so there's just a lot of upheaval, and people are really uncertain about what's happening. But the one thing we all have is each other. We all can recognize that we're in this together, that someone's struggles might be different than mine, but the degree of severity to them is all the same as it is to me. And so we can be a little more emotionally connected, I think, with people, even though we can't physically be connected at this time. Right. There is an emotional connection, I think, is happening. And maybe that's what the world is trying to teach us. Maybe this virus had to happen because we had become so isolated in other ways, and now we're being forced to isolate, but it's so that we can find that emotional connection again.
Right.
No, that's a really good point, because it's taken, what has it done? It has taken the distractions out of our life, right? Oh, I'll just go to the store. Oh, the kids are all home. The husband's at home. Oh, you know what? I really need to go shopping for about 4 hours. I don't want to. right? All those distractions, those abilities to escape somewhere else are now gone.
Oh, that's a perfect word, Todd. Escape. We became escape artists from our own life.
Exactly. That's
And I'm not being hypocritical. I myself was in that
I
mode
get
too,
it. I get it.
Yeah.
And now we can't escape from our lives.
No,
now we can't escape from our homes, you know? We are
no, we're really stuck.
Yeah, interesting.
So this is why thinking outside the box is going to become so important. And I wanted to state how you're right, Jackie, this has affected the entire world, right? This is not just an isolated event in one particular country where we can go, oh, that's so terrible and awful, bummer for them, you know, and keep going on our way. We're all affected by this. So what's happening is it's really fascinating. It's teaching us that some of the things that we thought we had to do, we don't have to do. We don't all have to drive. No, really, we don't all have to drive into a job.
Right.
You can work from home. Now, that may not be your desire, but it's a possibility, which means less people on the freeways, which means less traffic, which means less grass,
Well, I think that's going to be huge, Paulette. I think a lot of these corporations now have realized, wow, we don't have to pay for all that office space. We don't have to pay for all that electricity. Look how productive we can be, and people are in their own environments. But then I also think the opposite of that too is there's no social interaction.
Well, there has to be balance, right?
Yeah, we have to find some way of injecting those social things, maybe that will come naturally, like to join a bowling league or to go roller skating or those kinds of things that my parents did. My parents were
before the internet, before all that.
My dad was the coach of my baseball team, and it seemed like as a family unit, we were always doing something together.
Well, and don't you feel like that's potentially where this is leading us?
Totally. That's
reconnect with our family units in a sense, but not just our family units, to reconnect as a whole of humanity, in that, like I was just saying, we now have to think outside the box for green technology, right? Or energy sources.
That's true.
We have to think about ways to clean up our water. So that being said, if you're doing that on a global scale, we now know that we can attack and address global.
Well, and it's happened. NASA has said that the pollution of the planet has drastically
dropped. It's doable. It's doable, but we didn't know. We had to be shown that it was doable. And unfortunately, it kind of was a drop down to your knees moment, but
Here's your sign.
If you were looking for a sign, here it is. Yeah, golden platter.
Right. Well, and you think of the positives too from this. Certainly, car accidents are down.
Oh, all of that, yeah.
Major crime is down. There's no school shootings.
Oh, yay! Yeah, right.
So yeah, I mean, you think about how this has changed us, but in the same sense, there's been some positive outcomes as well that we need to recognize.
But that brought a highlight to something that hadn't been spoken about. And I think I know what you're talking about, Jackie. You're talking about in-home abuse, right? Where people are isolated, and the instances of abuse have risen because they are isolated. Right. And so that is something that hasn't been on the forefront of our consciousness for a while. Perhaps this is bringing it back to, hey, we got to resolve these family issues, right?
Right. Absolutely. And hopefully we will.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, somebody out there is going to watch this, or they're going to be looking at some article online about this, and that's going to be their calling, and they're going to go, I have to do something about that.
Yeah.
Well, I think, this is going to be a huge, go ahead, Jackie. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was going to ask Paulette how we keep our kids structured in this environment where video games are an all-day thing, and sometimes parents are exasperated too, and they just go, okay, whatever, just go play, get out of my face.
Right. Well, part of it is, as a parent, you're frustrated and bored and unhappy yourself, right? So how do you be the hypocrite and go, well, tough, You do. You have. See, here's the thing we have to remember about our children, and I've raised very, very independent children, because I never micromanaged them. That wasn't my style, not my husband's style. But we have to provide them with some structure. And so what I basically did was I sat my 15-year-old down and I said, hey, we have no idea how long school's going to be out. It could be the rest of the year, which it ended up being. And I don't want you to backslide like you do in the summertime, where you get off of school and you have 10 weeks of absolutely nothing, no activities, no learning, no musical instrument practice, no nothing, right? So I said, because I love you and because I want you to succeed and I want you to feel productive and good about yourself every day when you go to bed, we're going to come up with some things that are going to help you keep some structure in your day. And then you'll have some time during the day to do your own stuff too. But basically it's just a checklist. And so what it really, really starts with is the family's core values.
Well, and it's an agreement that you both decide on. It's like,
absolutely.
It's like creating a business plan, right? Here's the plan.
Absolutely. A business plan. Yes. It's just
And,
like that.
Well, and it's basically, that's kind of what it is. And it's, you know, Paulette, what I recognize is that you're being real with them. There's no sugarcoating. There's no what ifs. There's just like, here's the deal. This is real. This is where we're going.
Right. And some kids really, really thrive on structure and others not so much. So it's really good to know your child specifically. My child is good at both. He's a rule follower. So if I put rules in place, he's generally going to follow those rules. Other kids, not so much. But the point is that you sit down as a family and you basically come up with your core values. And it's really important that mom and dad or whoever the parents or co-parents are, they get together and they kind of get on the same page. Then you sit down with the kids and go, hey, by the way, we're going to put this in place. What do you think about, 6, 7, 8 different options that you want to throw on the table? Do you like this? Would you do this? Would this be beneficial for you? Give them some say. I mean, they have to have some say. You can't be a complete hypocrite, right?
And I love that, Paulette, that you mentioned core values, because how many families have sat down and had a conversation about what are their family's values?
Probably
what are
very
their
few.
core values? And that's an incredible statement. It's an incredible idea that might also be a plus for this, that families are going to come together. They're going to talk about, hey, what does our family represent? What do we want people to know our family for? And what can we do to make the most of our family name? And, and I wonder how many parents are going to come out of this feeling like, you know what? I never wanted to homeschool my kids before, but now I can do this.
Well, maybe,
and it's
I got this.
Yeah. I got this.
The change for a lot of families, perhaps there's going to be mothers who recognize, hey, I have some skills here. I'm a project manager at work, but now I can be a project manager at home. I can do this. I can set up the structure for my kids. I can make this happen. I may not be the smartest person in the world, but there's lots of information and resources out there on the internet that will help me teach my kids the basics. But I have the ability to manage this, and that's going to be a really cool realization for a lot of people.
And even if you don't, you can hire someone to do it, right? I guarantee there's some teachers, tutors, whatever online looking for some work. So
right.
I think we're going to have to get the internet companies to up their game a little bit more, though, because the bandwidth is definitely.
Yes.
Well, 5G's coming out soon, so hang tight.
And I feel a huge transformation. We talked about it a little bit, but with this whole online education thing, not only for the businesses, but also education, I think this is going to open up a huge door for people to get their degrees and their education in a different format where they don't have to travel to a university and stay in the dorm and all these huge expenses that go along with having an education.
Right.
But aren't part of the education at all.
Well, and
other than the universities getting filthy rich over the
day. It's just all fluff. It has nothing to do with educating anybody. So
yeah, I agree. It will open some doors to some people that previously didn't know that they had opportunities, and that's awesome. I mean, I always say there's nothing like a good crisis to to create change, right?
Well, I've always said that our youth haven't had that crisis, right? Most of us probably on this, I don't know how old Paulette is, but we've grown up in times of war where we've had to see ourselves have gone to fight, or we've had other friends or whatever that have gone to war to fight. We've seen the destruction that causes, but our youth haven't had that
No.
experience. I mean, most of the kids alive today weren't even around when 9/11 happened, so they don't even have that.
Well, and
in
even
their-
if they
in
were,
their-
they don't remember it. They were so little. you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is that war. This is that opportunity that our kids will have to test their ability to be resilient.
Yes, and it creates resilience, doesn't it? I mean, in and of itself, it creates resilience. It proves how strong we really are, right?
Yep. Yeah. So it's a good test. And you know, it's a dangerous test because there's a virus that can kill you. But on the other side of the coin, it's not that bad. I mean, there's more people recovering from it than there are people dying from it. So if this is a test that we're having, it's a pretty good test. It's a pretty good way to do this for us. And
I don't think I'll ever touch my face the same way again.
I know all that nervous, nail biting and that's definitely gonna have to go by the wayside.
I haven't broken that habit yet for myself. I still do it all the time.
Well, I think if you've been isolating and haven't been out to where you could touch stuff,
well, I'm at the grocery store going,
Yeah.
trying to scratch my ear. Just because I don't want to, I don't want to touch anything on my face.
Or
with
you
my
get in
hand.
your truck and you instantly pull out that.
Hand sanitizer.
Why do your eyes always itch more when you can't scratch them?
Because you can't scratch them.
Totally. Oh my gosh, it's just
Right?
all these things that come into our awareness that we would have never, it just do kept on our merry little way, and now we're huge.
I used to call it my blinders. For a very long time, I really felt as every time I went out in public, I tried not to see people, and I know that sounds horrible, but I think you just get into your mode of, I got to go do this and I got to get this done and I've got this, and you're kind of in your head a lot, and you put your blinders on and you just go. And I think this is really what I noticed at least in the first few 2, 3, 4 weeks of the virus around here, is that people were, especially in public places, were being very kind.
Oh, totally.
Very generous.
Yes.
And I'm going,
Especially the people at the grocery store. Hi, how they were overly friendly. How you doing today? And it's just like, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a way to reconnect. Yeah.
Right.
In a completely different capacity, because hey, we're all in the same boat, are we not?
So Paulette, how can hypnotherapy help us to cope with our coping skills a little bit better?
Yeah. So what I do is I create hypnotic MP3s, which are basically just a downloadable recording. Some are 12, 15, 30 minutes. And I've given those away for free, and they have different capacities. So one is like just a kind of a daytime, restorative relaxation. So maybe if you're feeling a little amped up in the middle of the day and you don't know what nervous energy or whatever, you can do that to just calm yourself down and recenter, reground yourself, and then move forward with the rest of your day. And then I have another one that's for deep sleep. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people having sleep issues right now. And then I have one for emotional balancing, which is for the fear factor. I'm actually working on one for anxiety. I'm going to be putting that one out here in the next week and a half. So those are the key emotions that we're feeling: fear, anxiety, and lack of sleep, and just being able to get regrounded. And all hypnosis is, in my estimation, and I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but hypnosis, meditation, and prayer are all kind of the same thing.
I was just going to ask you to explain the differences so that we're on the same wavelength.
I'm reading all my telepathy is kicking in now. No, it really is, because meditation is going inward, is it not? Prayer is going inward, but with mantra or speaking to God or whoever, your delta, right? And
we call it here on Life Mat the dude.
The dude. I love it. Perfect. And hypnosis is really no different. What we do is we just go down into a specific brainwave state, and which is what you do in meditation, and you can do in deep prayer or thought. And this is something people don't know. They think that hypnosis is something that I do to you. It's all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. It's the desire and the ability to just follow my instructions and go someplace that you want to go.
Right.
I'm just the facilitator. That's all. But when you take the time to use these techniques, whatever it is, and it doesn't even have to be meditation or mindfulness. I was just reading in a book by Carolyn Myss. She wrote the Anatomy of the Spirit, and she talks about you can also gain that sort of deep understanding connection with intuition by being, you can super excel, right, in your workflow state when you're doing something that you absolutely love and you're passionate about and you're hyper focused. You can get into that connection with your intuition in that state, and that's not technically hypnosis, so to speak, or whatever, but yeah, so it basically is just turning inward, is it not, and looking to still your mind, quiet your body, focus on your breathing. And by the way, breathing techniques are phenomenally powerful. You've probably interviewed somebody who talked about that, I'm sure, at some point.
I do. I open the show up that way every day.
Yeah.
I mean, every day.
Yeah, it's really an important thing. Yes, you do. So, basically hypnosis can help in a lot of different ways, but the primary thing you really need to do is just to take that time to slow down and focus on to let go of the negativity. I have this wonderful mentor and colleague and friend. His name is Calvin Banyan. He is the 5-path creator, 5-path hypnosis that I'm trained in. And he also wrote a book called The Secret Language of Feelings. And we practice 7th path self-hypnosis, which is a program that he brought into existence as well. And what we're doing is we're trying to get out of our mind so much and get away from, as Cal terms it, stinking thinking, right? I've also heard it called the itty bitty shitty committee, which is up in our head, always telling us stuff that we don't necessarily need to know, and it's not pertinent or helpful to where we want to be.
Yeah, the monkey mind. There's a lot of different descriptions of that. And, I think it's interesting too, Paulette, that medical science is coming to that conclusion. Hypnosis and meditation. When I first got started in that practice, I used to mentally think about hitting Control-Alt-Delete twice and rebooting.
I love it. That's great.
Well, now medical science is saying, we have this thing in our mind, in the center of our mind, called this RAM. It's like a computer RAM.
Yep.
And it gets plugged up. And without sleep or meditation or hypnosis, it has no way of dumping that buffer, so to say. And that all goes into the rest of the mind. But when that RAM gets plugged, just like a computer, when it gets plugged up, man, things get groggy and slow and don't work right. And
well, the funny thing is we always think that everything out here is going to be so much better if I can just get to here, if I can just do that, or if I can feel that way. Yeah, that's
wait, my website's not done yet. I need that.
Right, but that's not where it is. Todd, you and Jackie and I, we all know, because we do this sort of practice, that everything we need is right inside of us. Mm-hmm. We just have to want to go there and to figure it out.
Paulette, it's so easy to get disconnected from that too. I mean, we are human, and without, I think it has a lot to do with connection and who we're talking to. And we both know my good friend and our friend Rebecca Murray.
Oh yeah.
And so I talked to Rebecca for about an hour on Sunday, and it was like an accountability partner for both of us, because we were both in the same funk in this don't give a shit shitty attitude. And yet we both came out of that with a clearing. And it's like, so I think a lot has to do with being connected with somebody like that and being held accountable.
Yes, human connection is so vital and important. You guys
blew me away how much better I felt. And she's kind of talk about an Energizer bunny on double batteries. And for her to reflect to me that, I'm glad I'm talking to you, because I was kind of feeling the same. I'm like, wow, this is.
Well, it hits the best of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we are human. We still have an ego and a personality to contend with, right?
Right.
It's our soul that has all the wonderful information, and that's why we have to go inward, or we have to do some sort of practice that takes us into connection with that intuition and inner wisdom.
So go ahead, Todd.
I was just going to say, I'm not that tough Marine, that United States Marine, right? I can,
Yeah, you are.
I can blow through this. But
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth, Todd.
You can. Yeah. I love that movie.
I was going to ask what, since you believe that prayer and meditation and hypnosis are all pretty much the same, or at least the outcomes can be the same.
Yeah, I think it's more based on the outcome. The technique might be different, but
Right. So what does your technique look like if someone is to come in and sit down with you and you hypnotize them or you help them to get into that hypnotic state? What does that look like? Does it look a lot like meditation, or is there something else you do?
It can, absolutely. It can look like meditation, although in meditation, you're usually trying to quiet the mind. And we do want to quiet the mind because basically what you want to achieve in a state of hypnosis is you want to get out of the conscious thinking mind, which is your problem solver, like Todd was talking about. It's the RAM. And then you want to get into the subconscious or unconscious, depending on how you look at it, to get to the deeper feeling part of the brain. So essentially what happens when you come into my office is we have a lovely conversation. We kind of assess your goals. What is it that you want to achieve by going through this process? And then we take time when you're feeling comfortable and ready and you've got all the facts about hypnosis and you feel comfortable, then we take time to go to the chair. I call it the big chair of change, right? And we do sort of I have you lie back. I have you take some nice deep breathing. Breathing is the first place to connect, right? Just deep breathing. And then allowing your body to just sort of normally and naturally relax as you take them into a progressive relaxation or down into a state of supreme focus where they're just focusing on your words, they're focusing on your instructions. There's a lot of imagery and imagination that is used to create that connection, right? With that inner...
No pendulum?
Nope, no pendulum. No swirly thing either.
Stopwatch that they used to do in front of you, right?
Yeah, and there's so many different ways to induce a human being into hypnosis. There's conversational hypnosis where I could have a conversation with you, and when you were talking about that metaphor for that string.
Oh, that's why I'm feeling so dirty.
Yeah, right. There's the handshake method where I could literally shake your hand and you could fall straight down.
No, we don't do that anymore, Paulette. No.
Well, not now, no.
And not to change the subject, but can you imagine Toastmasters without the handshake?
I know, it's so weird.
But I heard something, I don't want to change this, but this just totally blew me away. Some of the experts said, if we got rid of the handshake, even the flu infections that we experience every year would be drastically reduced.
It's true. What if we did an elbow bump?
I'd rather risk it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I like the handshake. Handshake is a way to really sincerely connect with somebody and to test their trustworthiness. Honestly, I mean,
well, and you're giving them control of the podium with that handshake. That's a lot of it.
If somebody isn't willing to shake hands with me, I don't trust them.
Right.
I mean, I know in these times, that it's a little bit of a different situation.
I didn't mean to change the subject. Oh.
Well, that's okay because it leads me to another point. It leads me to another point that I really wanted to make before we finish up here today, and that is that so many times we get into a place like yourself, like you just said, Todd, where you're just kind of, don't give a shit or whatever. Or we get into a place where it's like analysis paralysis, where we think, well, what can I offer the world? What do I have to give? And the reason why that comes up so often for people is because they're trying to compare themselves to somebody else. They're trying to reach a state of perfection, A, that doesn't really exist, and B, belongs to someone else that they think is a state of perfection. So when we go, no, we're comparing apples to oranges. You can never be the apple if you're an orange, right? So you need to go inward and look at yourself and go, I'm perfectly me. I am who I am. And I have something to offer and give through my life experiences, through my challenges, through whatever it is that I've faced in my life circumstances. That is where you're going to stem that information to help others with. That's where the thinking outside the box needs to come in, to look at yourself as being already in a space to be helpful. It doesn't matter if you're perfect. It doesn't matter if you have all the right answers. And the other thing too, is you're not going to appeal to every single human on the planet, nor should you. You're going to appeal to a very specific subset of people that need you, and they need you right now. So stop holding back and just do it.
Well, that brings me to another thought, that you're talking about other people and this other person, and I'm curious to see what you think. I don't think that relying on that significant other is the solution either.
No, well, what do you mean significant other? Like
Like your
spouse?
husband or your wife, or
No.
right? We can't rely on each other.
No, we have to rely on ourselves.
And
Yeah.
And other people, right? We
Sure.
can't burden our significant other all of the time.
Right.
You get my point, is what I'm.
Oh, yeah. I do get your point.
So some might think, oh, well, you have your husband. Why don't you? But you really, maybe I'm getting lost.
It goes back to the oxygen mask, right?
Right.
We have to be clear on who we are, what we want, and how we change ourselves before we rely on other people. It's
right.
You can't rely on someone to make you happy. Right?
Yeah, Jackie,
you have to be happy on your own.
You're like me. You grew up in the era where it was all Disney princess fairy tales, right? And I was going to marry the perfect man, and it was going to be wonderful, and he was going to make me.
I married that
happy.
woman. I mean,
yeah. But that's not it. That's not it. You have to find that happiness within yourself first. Ever before you depend on somebody else to make you happy. In fact, you should never depend on anybody to make you happy. Because you'll always be disappointed.
Someone else can certainly add to your happiness.
They can add to your happiness, but you can't force them to be the cause of your happiness.
Right.
I think that was my point.
Yeah.
You did that so well.
Did we do it right? It's the
on the other side of that coin. I think it's important too that we don't blame others for our problems and our unhappiness.
Exactly. No. There's no blaming.
Right.
You're not a victim.
That's all a mindset, right? It's
absolutely. Yeah. The victim mindset is a mindset. I'm a victim. Yeah. So even the most difficult of circumstances, you have to step out and do something. You have to take care of yourself. You have to do what's right for you. That
darn COVID totally screwed up my whole world.
Darn it.
Everything's different now.
You're not a very good victim, Todd. Sorry. The guy who writes a book
it's funny too. We're gonna go ahead in time now, and we're gonna be. Oh, that was pre-COVID, right?
That's right.
It will be an identifier in time, won't it? It's gonna be strange. Yeah. Just kind of like 9/11 was. And
BC will now stand for before COVID.
Good one, Jackie.
Oh my goodness,
2019 BC.
We only have about 3 minutes left, and oh my gosh, I had such a blast. This is what the doctor ordered. I should do this every day. Is what I should do.
You should.
Once a week is good. Thank you so much, Paulette, for coming on the show today and sharing with us your great thoughts and ideas for us to use at these trying times. Is there anything we missed? I think we have about 3 minutes.
I think the biggest thing is just to love yourself. I know that's hard, and in our society, that's never been a huge concept. It's always been deemed as, socially unacceptable or narcissistic or whatever. But the fact of the matter is we can't really love anybody else. As RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, who the hell are you gonna love you, or whatever his thing is. But yeah, I
heard it like, how can you give somebody a banana if you do not have a banana?
Exactly. So yeah, just love yourself first. Be kind, be gentle. These are trying times. None of us is perfect. None of us should be perfect. And you know what? God never promised, or whoever you think your Delta is, never promised an easy, perfect life. That's not what this whole thing is about. So,
any last thoughts, Jackie? This show was a lot of fun. Did you have fun?
Absolutely. And my parting thought is that yes, I believe that we all need to take care of ourselves and have that happy attitude. We need to get rid of our limiting beliefs and move forward with all the possibilities at hand. And I wanted to let you know that there is a growing movement to have a day of prayer and fasting on April 10th, which is Good Friday for Christians who are celebrating Easter. And there is a Facebook page that you can join. It's Worldwide Fast April 10. And so we believe that together, through prayer and through fasting, sacrificing a little bit of our physical needs to open up more communication with that source, the spirit, the dude, whatever it is, that we can pray for those who are affected by this economically and physically and health-wise. Pray for the healthcare workers who are helping us through this, and that life will return to normal. So.
Did you guys know
Very
that
cool.
they just had a World Global Meditation on Saturday evening? And they took, have you heard of the Schumann resonance?
Yep.
They took a picture of that, and they found that the Earth's resonance rose.
It's amazing.
Massively.
I think we're going to get kicked off here.
Yeah, we probably will.
We got about 1 minute. Thanks again, Paulette, for showing up. Jackie, I had a blast. We all had a
Thank you
blast.
so
Thanks,
much.
Paulette.
Tell
Thank
your
you.
friends about Life Mastery Radio. You can go to www.lifemasteryradio.net, and anything we talked about, Paulette's links are there. Anything else, my book is there. Check out my book and share it with a friend. This has been some really good stuff. I think the content that we created today could be beneficial to a lot of people. So send out that link. Thanks for tuning in. We've got some great guests coming up. So go sign up for that newsletter and find out who they are. Lastly, I would like for you to make it a great day. It's your choice, so choose to do just that. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
And don't touch your face.